Hi, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef. In this episode, we're going to make a very delicious and kind of spicy dish. It's Indian curried fried rice. Yes, Indian curried fried rice. It's vegetable rich, it has a little bit of chicken, a lot of rice, and quite frankly, it's delicious. So come on, let's cook. So here we are with the ingredients for our Indian curried fried rice. The first thing I want you to do is start making 3 cups of rice. And whether you use white rice, whole grain rice, or whatever rice, you just want to end up with 3 cups of your favorite rice. And I'm not going to show you the specific recipe for this rice because they're all different. So you need to read the bag or box of the rice that you bought. But you do want 3 cups of rice. The next thing we want to use is 2 celery stalks, which will yield about a 1/4 cup, maybe a 1/2 cup of celery. We're going to use half of this very large jalapeno, which will yield about 2 tablespoons of jalapeno. And the point here is, do you like it spicy? If you don't, you can leave this out completely. I also have 2 green onions. That will come out to about a 1/4 cup of green onion when it's sliced up. I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of sweet onion. If you can only get yellow or red or whatever, that's fine. Do it to taste. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of this yellow curry powder, and that's really going to kick it into the Indian taste sphere. That's where your basic Chinese fried rice will have that Indian twist to it, and man, is this delicious. We're also going to use 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and you can add more if you want. It's absolutely to taste on this one, but I really recommend that you start with about 2 tablespoons, and then when it's put on the table, you can add more as you see fit. We're going to use a tablespoon of vegetable oil. You can also use canola. Olive oil would give this kind of a strange twist, but you're welcome to use that too if you want. But I'm going with a pure vegetable oil at this point. I'm going to use half of this zucchini. I'm going to dice that up really fine. I'm going to use a 1/4 of this red pepper. Again, that's going to be diced up pretty fine too, and yield about a 1/4 cup. And as for the chicken, I want 3 pounds. 3 pounds. 3 pounds would absolutely be too much for this dish. I want 3/4 of a pound of boneless, skinless chicken breast when I'm done. And this is actually about a pound, but boy, when I trim this down and dice it and cube it, and actually cube it and then dice it, it's going to come out to about 3/4 of a pound. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is trim our chicken. But I do want to note one thing to you, that to make really good fried rice, when you make the rice itself, if they're asking for 2 cups of water, leave a 1/4 cup of that water out of the mix, because that will make the rice a little bit drier. And I do find that in most rice recipes on the back of bags and boxes, that's what works best for me. Always leave it just slightly dry for what they're asking for. Now, when I trim this chicken, what I want to do is, first of all, get rid of the yicky parts. So there we go. There's a good yicky part. I mean, really, trim the fat off and trim the bones out of it. Don't go cheap on this, because nobody wants a chewy chicken fried rice, and certainly not a chewy curried fried rice. So I'm just cutting this into medallions first. There we go. And then I'm going to cut it into smaller pieces, because as you remember from the fried rice that you have at your favorite restaurants, it doesn't have huge pieces of chicken that you have to use a knife and fork on. So the chicken is all ready. I have a pan with our oil in it already, and I'm going to start sauteing this, start frying this a little bit while I prepare the vegetables. Okay, so maybe you can hear the chicken cooking in my deep skillet in the background. I'm cutting the zucchini in half. And then we're just going to cut it into quarters. There we go. And then we're just chopping it from the end. And chop it very thin. You don't want big chunks of zucchini in this Indian fried rice, Indian curried fried rice. Just cut it nice and thin. And I'm just going to chop these up just a little bit finer. It doesn't really matter, but just a nice little chop. I don't want big chunks. And I know you're thinking, oh my goodness, zucchini in fried rice. Again, this is curried fried rice. It can handle it. It can handle the veggies. Next up, we'll take our red pepper. And this is about a quarter of the red pepper. And again, all of these vegetables, they add a little bit of a different twist, a little bit of a different flavor. These red peppers tend to be very sweet. And if you can only get bell pepper, that's fine. But you will end up with a little bit, just slightly more bitter taste. These red ones are very sweet. I just love them. And I think if you've been following along with the step-by-step series, you're going to find red pepper in an awful lot of my dishes. And then I'm just going to cut it real fine. Okay, I'm going to put that in my next little glass bowl. And here comes our quarter cup of sweet onion. Again, I want this to be pretty fine too. I don't want big chunks of sweet onion in our Indian curried fried rice. So I'm just scoring the top very closely. Turn it back this way. Give it a little bit more of a score. And then I'm going perpendicular, on the square, creating little squares of onion. And I just love sweet onion. I just do. And you know that if you've been watching the series, you know that sweet onion plays a role because it's just so tasty. And I don't have to add sugar to a lot of dishes. Now I'm just scoring the front, again in little slices, and you'll see that we end up with nice minced onion. Okay, so there is our quarter cup of minced onion. You might have to cut a little bit of these pieces up. Fine. And there we go. Oops. Okay. And this is going into our next glass dish. And next up is our celery. And again, I don't want big pieces of celery either. So I'm scoring it in half. There you go. And I'm just going to cut this into these little slices. And I like these little pieces because it means that in every bite that you take of this dish, you're going to get a slightly different flavor. You're going to get a nice mix, a nice melding of flavor. And there's our quarter cup of celery. And celery adds such a nice crunch to so many different dishes. And now we have our green onion. And quite frankly, in my mind, I grew up in the Northeast in Massachusetts. It's not fried rice if you don't have green onion in it. I can't remember a single time that I had fried rice as a kid and it didn't have what what in the 60s and 70s was an exotic ingredient. Okay, and I'm just putting this in with the sweet onion because all of these veggies are going to cook together anyways. And last but not least comes our jalapeno. Now again, if you don't like spice, don't add it. I love my Indian food and even my Chinese food super, super spicy. So I'm going for it. Sometimes I'll even add a ghost pepper to this dish. And that's one of the hottest peppers known to humankind. And I'll add it in, I'll stir it in, and then I'll take it out before it makes the dish too unbearable. And so here we go. I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of chopped jalapeno. And I have to confess, if this isn't hot enough, because jalapenos can really range in heat, I'll probably add a little bit of ghost pepper or some crushed red pepper to this dish, because I just love it hot. I love my Indian food so that like smoke's coming out of my ears and my brow is sweaty. So there we go. Okay, so here's our chicken. It's been frying for about 10 minutes in the oil. And what I'm doing now is I'm taking the pieces that I sliced and making them a little bit smaller. I just love when I get Chinese fried rice. Oops, that piece is not quite cooked. But I love when I get Chinese fried rice and it has those smaller pieces of meat in them. I think that's one of the absolute secrets of great Asian cooking, is that you can pick it up with a fork or your chopsticks and you're getting a flavor sensation. So I'm just going through, chopping it up a little bit smaller so we have a good mix of chicken. I don't want big pieces. I really absolutely do not want you to have to take a knife out and cut the chicken as you're eating this rice dish. Okay, so the chicken is cooked through after about 10 minutes. There was that one piece that had a little bit of pink to it, but honestly, after I add these veggies, which I have to saute, it's going to have plenty of time to cook. But you do want everything cooked all the way through. So we're going to saute these veggies. That is a veggie-rich dish already. So my stove is set on medium. I don't want to add any more oil because it'll make the dish greasy. And all these different flavors are going to come out. What I will do is add one of our tablespoons of soy sauce, because it'll add some nice flavor to the meat and the veggies as they're sauteing. And make sure to give it a stir occasionally. You want everything to saute nice and evenly. And when we start to see the zucchini squash starts to look a little bit clear, that's when we know to add the rice, and we're going to add the curry powder at that point. Okay, so our zucchini is starting to look translucent. I'm adding more of our soy sauce, as agreed. And here comes our 2 tablespoons of curry powder. I'm just using a very basic yellow curry powder. There's 1. And 2. Stirring this in. Oh boy. Wow, what an aroma. That is delicious. I want to eat this. I literally want to sit on the couch and eat this without the rice. But we must be responsible. And here comes our rice, which again, we cooked a little bit dry so it mixes nicely with this dish. This is a tasty rice ball. And you can add more curry if you want. You can add less curry. You can adjust any of these ingredients to your taste. Again, I like it hot, so I might sneak in a ghost pepper, a buchalokia, and stir that in until it's almost agonizing. And fortunately, my wife likes it the same way. And, you know, look at this. That's Indian curried fried rice. And when you sit down to eat it, you can add more soy sauce. You can pretty much do anything you want to make it to your taste. I just want to give you the initial slug and then use your imagination. That's the fun of cooking. Use your imagination. Don't let anyone tell you that you're wrong. Because it's matters of taste. Arguing matters of taste is ridiculous. It's what do I like? And I really love this dish. You got your vegetables, you got your proteins, and you get your starch. This is like the perfect bowl, and it's easy to make. I'm declaring that done. So congratulations, look at what you just did. You just made this delicious bowl of Indian curried fried rice. It has lots of vegetables in it, it has fresh chicken in it, and it has rice. It's a complete meal, and it is delicious. I hope you'll make it. Now please visit my site, StepByStepChef.com. There you will find a printable version of this recipe and dozens of other healthy, nutritious, and delicious recipes. My name's Larry Richardson. I am your Step-by-Step Chef, and I'll see you in the next episode.